All right, almost at 30 people, about half that registered. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Welcome to the RISD online graduate open house. I'm sure you've been to some of our other sessions or plan on attending some more sessions the rest of the week. Today, this session will be focusing on the MFA painting program. With me today, I have Jackie Gendel. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Yes.
Jackie is the graduate program director and faculty in our painting department. She's going to provide a little bit of an overview of the program, and then we'll leave the rest of the time to question and answers. This will be about a 40-minute session. So if we don't get to your question, just feel free to email us at admissions@risd.edu. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to Jackie.
Hello, everyone. I can't see you, but it's nice that you're all here. And yeah, I'm just going to give a brief description of what our department is like. And if you have any questions, hopefully we'll get to them today. And if not, we'll be able to answer them afterwards. Anyway, so a little bit about our department. Like painting at RISD is, there's 20 students, there's 10 each year, which is totally like a pretty small painting department compared to other graduate programs out there. We like it that way. We like to see ourselves as having like a really kind of intimate community. And I think the community, it's important for us to kind of foster our community and yeah, so within your time in our department, you will have the 10 people above you and the 10 people below you. And we try to find ways for the cohorts to get to know each other really well. We're pretty heavy on curriculum. Our department, our program is not a residency program. Each semester you have classes that you take. Your first semester, first year, you take a printmaking class and a seminar, which is often art history or theory, but there's other available seminars at the school. And every semester you'll have electives that you take in other departments. We also have a class second year that's called the 3 critics, where you work with 3 different critics. Every graduate student writes a thesis their final year, and part of the 3 critics classes is about, artists who write or thinking about writing. All of our graduate students TA. As many of you know, the undergraduates at RISD are pretty amazing, and the experience of TAing for the undergraduate classes is I think one that our students really enjoy. Often the grads and the undergrads become close friends too, and it's another added kind of peer group or conversation that happens. Basically, you will work with all the full-time faculty in one capacity or another, either as a core critic. Every semester you'll have 2 critics one is a core critic and the other is what you call floater. And generally the graduate program director is the floater, and they see all the grad students, and then whoever your core critic is, you'll be working with them on a weekly basis. And our major kind of dialogues around work, it's not a final critique, it's a midterm. And it's an opportunity for every student to have about a 40-minute critique. And all the critics who you are working with that semester are there, and as well as often visiting critics as well. We like doing it in the midterm rather than a final critique, because I think we like to consider the process more important than this final result. Like you're always in the middle, it never really ends. And so it's important for us to have it be something that's that's I don't know where that's sort of prioritized. Let's see what else. All grads in our department get a studio. First year the studios are split with two students, and second year you get your own studio. They're all large enough that people are not complaining about how much space they have. Of course, your studio work is kind of the core of your experience. So even though you're really busy with classes and TAing, and between Brown and RISD, Brown is right up the hill from us, less than 3 minutes away. You could go to a lecture every single night. You could go to multiple lectures every single night between what's going on between our two campuses. You can also take classes at Brown. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on and our students are really busy. But of course, your studio and your work is your priority, and there is a lot of space. And it is important that you are kind of leading what your interests are and finding ways to use all the resources of RISD to find people to talk to. And there are plenty of people to talk to, but to answer questions and to find more questions about your work. In general, our student body is extremely diverse in both their interests and their work, and people from all over the world. I think I said before that we consider ourselves like a big tent program, but what that means is that students in the painting department aren't just painting. We have students who are doing installation and video and performance, and we encourage that. One thing that's special about our program is that in the winter session of your second year, students have the opportunity to teach their own class. And a lot of our students do that. I'd say probably 70% of our 60 to 70% of painting graduate students decide that they want to teach a winter session course. It's great. It's a great experience. Winter session, RISD actually has three sessions. It's their spring, fall, and winter session in between. And the winter session is a shorter, kind of more intense period for people to take classes. Let's see if I'm forgetting anything. Yeah, I think I covered everything that was on my list. If you do apply, there's opportunities to, and if you make it to pass the first round, we really like for people to visit and to talk with our current grads to get a sense of what our program's really like. We feel like they will give you like the honest take. But in general, like our faculty is really close. We don't always agree when we have our midterms. I feel like we try to model a relationship to making art, and we're all full-time artists as well as teachers, and we all love art and love making art and love talking about it and arguing about it, but it's not, we don't like to take each other down, like the discourse is critical and supportive, but you will be asked many difficult questions, but we try to foster like that within an environment that's pretty caring and supportive. So if anybody has any questions, I'm here.
That's great. Thank you, Jackie. So this is your time to ask the faculty themselves. So we'll be ending around between 12:30 and 12:40. So make sure you get your questions in now. Feel free to start typing them in the Q&A, or if you would like to ask your question out loud, feel free to raise your hand, and I can give you permission to speak to ask your question yourself. So feel free, this is your time to ask questions about the application, the portfolio requirement, all that kind of stuff. Don't be shy. Great. I see a couple of raised hands. Awesome. All right, and if you're going to put questions in, just put them in the Q&A section of Zoom, because I'm putting some links in the chat and I don't want to lose track of your question. No problem, totally fine. All right, we have our first raised hand, Emily. I'm going to give you permission to talk, Emily.
Hi guys. Sorry, I'm in the street actually right down the road from RISD right now because I have a tour today with you guys, but
Oh, great.
so if it's loud, I apologize. But I was going to ask, according with the portfolio, I was thinking about kind of how I wanted to organize it, and I didn't know if what was more effective, chronological organization from like most recent to great, love that. Most recent to, you know, furthest, or vice versa, or if it's more like what is the work that we are most passionate about, the topics we're most passionate about, put more at the beginning, and then kind of emotion through that. What would be the best way to organize perhaps our portfolio?
I don't know if there's a steadfast rule to that. I think, I mean, I think chronological is often what I see, you know, and sometimes if you are looking through the portfolio and you realize that things are out of order, you're like, oh, whoa, that was, you know, but I don't know, it all came from the same person. And, you know, I think, yeah, I don't know if there's like a hard, fast answer to that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I just didn't know if there was something that was more effective for you guys looking at it and it, you know, felt comfortable, but that's great. Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, it could, I mean, I guess if there was something that, you know, that there could be a reason that you would like put something that was done, you know, a year or two ago ahead of something that was done recently, in terms of like you wanting us to like understand that you've like been exploring other things, but you see value in what you were working with then too, you know. But whether it will come through exactly as you are aiming for isn't it's kind of hard to tell, you know, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, well, thank you
I
for
have
answering
these
my question.
too when I'm submitting slides. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. We have another raised hand. We have Gerald. Gerald, I'm giving you permission to talk. You want to go ahead and ask your question out loud.
I'm applying for the painting program, and I like how you guys have an interdisciplinary approach to the program, but also I wanted to ask about, as far as the portfolio that I'm submitting, does it have to be all painting, or can I mix it up with some of the other mediums that I work in as well?
You can, yeah, you can mix it up with some of the other mediums as well. Like I mean, one thing for the portfolio, like I don't recommend spending your time like putting a lot of like detail shots in, you know, unless it's like really necessary to have one. I feel like, and I also like highly recommend everybody using, I don't know how many it is, but all 20, if it's 20, like not leaving them empty, you know. But yeah,
So
I think if you also wanted to submit sculpture, you know, if you submit videos, I would edit it. Like I wouldn't submit something that's super long because there's just not time to watch it.
do you guys do your portfolio submissions through Slide Room?
Yes.
Yeah.
So is it possible that I could make a slide for, say it's one work, but I made several photos of that work on one slide, maybe a couple detail shots?
I don't recommend
Or would that?
Yeah, I don't recommend that. Like it when you're somebody who's reviewing work and you're seeing like 4 shots on the same slide, it usually doesn't come across that well. I would just kind of have faith in the overall work. And if
Okay.
for some reason it's like really illegible or like needs like there's something about how it's made that needs to have a detail, you know, then maybe give one. But I wouldn't like give a detail for every painting that you submit. Like you can.
Okay, and lastly, sorry, I have one more question about the portfolio.
That's okay.
How recent of the work that does it have to be? do you want like my last 2 years worth of work, or is there like maybe something that's connected to my work that I'm doing now that maybe I did 5 years ago or something?
Yeah, I wouldn't go too far back personally.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate
Yeah.
your answers.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gerald. All right, we're going to go to some of the questions now that are in the Q&A. The first question I have is, would it be beneficial for a muralist to take the MFA in painting program? The specific applicant is torn between the MFA illustration or the MFA painting program.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends, I guess, what your goals are. Like there's not much, I mean, not that it couldn't be found, but you know, in terms of like painting on the walls, like that's on a wall, that's an interesting idea in painting. But how that gets translated into a program where you're going to have to like kind of move things to crit rooms, or you know, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's also a huge difference between illustration and painting department in terms of what we talk about, I think. One being kind of assignment based or also book based, like other people maybe giving you a subject, whereas in, you know, I don't know, I just feel like the other is just individual ideas and like trying to figure out what your interests are and kind of investigating the boundaries around those interests. And obviously like scale is an idea in architecture for mural painting, but also like what specific murals are you painting? Like are they commissions, or are they all commissions that are like kind of not necessarily subject that you're coming up with yourself, you know, versus ideas that you want to have, and the scale needs to be large for other reasons that are like connected to art history. Not that in illustration they're not connected to art history too. I just think it is sort of, yeah, what like whether the source is coming from inward or outward, I guess, is a question. I don't know if do you have thoughts on that too? About, because I don't know that much about the illustration MFA. It's brand new.
It is brand new. The first cohort is happening right now. And I believe I know the person who asked this question. So I believe they've been attending those sessions. So it's, you know, it's hard to gauge right now because it just, it's still figuring itself out a little bit. But, you know, it is how you make it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question. This person says, thank you so much. They have a question on what you said regarding the big tent nature of the program. Is there flexibility within the program to do interdisciplinary work? Their understanding of the program to this point has been that there are some pretty high walls up between practices. So,
okay, it is true that RISD as an institution, although we're working on it, it's hard to like come into the painting department and then like take tons of classes in other disciplines because of space. It's totally possible, but like it's not, sometimes it's difficult to get into classes that you want to get into outside of your major. But that said, there are tons of people in our department who are making sculpture and making installation and having independent studies with sculptor professors, and do get access to facilities. It's just something that has to be kind of like worked through on an individual basis, and usually with like some will and some luck as well. And but within our department, like we really encourage, like our faculty can talk about painting, we can talk about film, we can talk, it's like we're pretty well rounded. Like none of us go to like art shows in New York and just go to painting shows. It's like we see painting as existing in an interdisciplinary world, and the questions that we're asking in our own work and that our students are asking in their work are, some people are hardcore painters, but there's many others who are doing other kinds of things too. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Are there usually certain faculty assigned to certain genre or types of work? This person is a mostly representational figurative painter, and just curious what kinds of discourse might come up per artist.
Yeah, no, there's not. Everybody works with the same people. So if you're working in figuration, you might one semester get a professor as your core critic who's an abstract painter or who's making film. Like it's not you don't get assigned to individual people. No.
Great. Next question. In what way are grad students introduced and facilitated to break into the gallery exhibition scene in New York City and other high-profile art world spaces?
Sorry, what was the first part of the question? How
are grad students introduced and facilitated to break into the gallery exhibition scene?
How, we don't really see it as our responsibility to help people get galleries and shows after school. We see it as our responsibility to help you form the questions that will keep you curious and lead you to have a long studio life, and that will allow you to think for yourself and lots of hard questions. The market is a whole nother thing, and for the most part, it's not that with Instagram, I feel like it's hard to kind of keep it out. I think if we could, we would try to insulate people from it while they're in school, just so that they had the free time to make mistakes and to not be public with everything, and to I understand people needing to make a living after school and want everybody to be successful within that world, but it's not our job to do that. But you will end up forming a peer group, hopefully people lifelong friends that you'll be in dialogue with in the RISD community, exponentially year to year is out there in the world and pretty supportive of each other. But yeah.
A good question here. Most programs have a final thesis that will be at the end of the 2 years. Are there other shows or larger projects that students focus on or collaborate with over the time before that?
Before the thesis? Well, I feel like people are making bodies of work the entire time they're in school. There's definitely collaboration is seen as a really positive thing to happen between people in our program and in other programs too. The earlier question about interdisciplinary, even though all the grad students are in Fletcher together, so you get to know students from sculpture and printmaking and photography, from other programs, so it's not like you're completely siloed. And often when our students are collaborating with each other, it's because they're in the same building with each other and they get to know each other. But yeah, there's shows, there's a few school galleries where students have the opportunity to not only show work, but also possibly curate shows Those are always really exciting and really good, actually, the student curated shows in Gelman and in Solkoffler. And so, yeah, there's definitely, there's a lot of like kind of, there's also, recently we've been having, well, let's see, there's the painting biennial, and there's, we just had the painting triennial, which was a big show of all of our grad school work. So there's like lots of opportunities actually to show your work at RISD while you're here. And then oftentimes our second year graduate students, they curate and organize a show in New York. There's a little bit of funding to make that happen. And we're actually trying to instigate a class where students work with a curator as well. So I think that's going to start next year. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities to kind of have milestones like that. I hope I'm answering this question right. But yeah, there's also the thesis show and the thesis that you have to write. And the thesis show, there's a big show at the end of the year for all graduate and graduate students. And that's always like a really big deal too. And we have critics come in and give everybody critiques in front of their final work, thesis work.
That's great. I just put in the chat a link to our current exhibitions, campus exhibitions on campus, and also the Flickr account for exhibitions. It shows a little bit of the gallery spaces and current student shows. I also just posted a link to the, it's like the museum online publication of our last grad show. All right, next one. How are you doing on time?
I'm doing good. I have about 5 more minutes, something like that. That's good.
Great. This is a portfolio question. In the portfolio, how important is it to show the painting at the edge of the work?
Yeah, you should not crop your paintings. You should show your whole painting. You just answered that. You just answered that question. Can I include sketch or works in progress on my portfolio? Or would it be better to include only 100% finished work? If you're somebody who makes really slow paintings and the work in progress is like, I don't know, I mean, it's always interesting to see work in progress actually, but I wouldn't have a huge amount of your portfolio be unfinished work, unless that's like part of your idea. But yeah, I think maybe having one or could be okay, 1 or 2.
Great. This is a really good question about another element of the application. Do you have any advice on writing a strong statement of intent or
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're looking for students who have like a strong sense of like of their work and where they questions, you know, about where they want to take it and ideas that they're thinking of. Like write something that interests you and that also other people, that'll be fun to read. I mean, I guess it's like kind of the most I could say is like, you know, we're reading 300 or 400 of these things. So like, if you can find a way to make it fun for both yourself to write and for us to read, then that's appreciated.
Great. This is a curriculum question. I just missed it. Oh, there we go. Last time, this person went to the RISD thesis exhibition in the museum and saw that some MFA painting students concentrated in theory in art and history and design. They're curious as to what this means.
I think that might be a program in art history program. Yeah.
So there's a couple of different concentrations that you can do and that you can add to your graduate degree program. These are in our THAD program. It's it's an additional certificate you can take. Some students take the collegiate teaching certificate program. These certificate programs are completely doable with your graduate degree. There's time to do it, and it's something that a lot of students do. All right, this is a portfolio question. this person, their work is in a series or a part of something like a triptych. Would it be better to see the series in context altogether or as a single photo on slide room?
Okay, I think in the case of a triptych, I think it depends on the scale of it. If it's a giant painting and if you're taking it from far away and you're not able to get a lot of detail, then that is a case where it might be good to show it both as a triptych and as a three or showing two of them, you know. But it just depends on the scale. Oftentimes, if it's a small triptych, then you can usually get a pretty detailed shot of the whole thing.
Great. Here, and we'll ask one more question if that's okay. See here. This is another portfolio question, and I'm cropping. I have a smaller number of pieces that they want to include that sold before. I was focusing on documenting my work well, or so large that they are in storage and not easy for me to take back out and document with better cameras and angles than I did when I showed the document in the past. Is it okay to submit 2 to 3 pieces whose documentation is missing an edge, for example, or that is not pictured against a white wall?
Yeah, I think so. If the rest of the work is really strong, we're not going to hold that against you. If the whole thing is cropped, it might seem a little strange, you know, but if you have 2 or 3, I think that's okay.
That's great.
I do want to say that taking the time to take good images of your work is really important. It makes a big difference in how the application looks and is read.
That's great.
And it's not that hard nowadays. I mean, I get great pictures with my phone somehow.
So that's what we say too. And for all these portfolio questions, if you come up with more as you're working on your slide room submission, we will be having portfolio tip sessions hosted by admissions. So I encourage you to attend those sessions. They'll be focused completely on the portfolio. So it'll be 1 hour dedicated to answering your questions about that requirement. But with that, I say we will wrap it up. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Jackie, for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you. We look forward to seeing your applications.
Totally. If you have any more questions, feel free to email us at admissions@risd.edu. Go ahead, Jackie. Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. And we have more sessions this week. We have the Career Center and Nature Lab today, along with some of our other MFA programs. So I encourage you to sign up for those. There are lots of career questions. So you want to attend the Career Center webinar. You won't be mad if you attend it. There's so much stuff there. There's such a wealth of information. And yeah, that's it. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.